Ryan Poles tells ESPN that he is following the blueprint he learned in Kansas City. We're going to talk about why it's important that Ryan Poles has a vision and how that vision is helping, hopefully, the Chicago Bears reach new heights. We're going to get into all that and more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bears Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bears news and content.
What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. I'm the host here, Haize. You can follow the channel right off the top at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform that we happen to be on. But let's go ahead and get into content for today. So Ryan Poles is being interviewed by Courtney Cronin. Shout out to her working over at ESPN. She actually does a lot of episodes over with Pat the Designer as well at the Chicago Bears podcast. But he was asked kind of about, learning from Kansas City and kind of following that blueprint. And he had this to say: it definitely rubs off on you. Build through the draft. And so with that said, right, Ryan Poles had spent over a decade down there in Kansas City, working his way up through their scouting department, eventually getting to where he is now at with the Chicago Bears. But that kind of set the groundwork for Ryan Poles. And we know that Poles has come in with a focus on development, with a focus on building through the draft, with a focus on value. And that's a big thing that he learned down there. Yes, that is not translated to wins quite yet for the Chicago Bears. But when you look at what Ryan Poles is trying to lay the groundwork for, is for sustained success once we do reach being successful. And Poles has, made bold moves, but not crazy ones, right? With that. And that's an amazing thing. Like, when you look at the haul he got back for the number one overall pick, the fact that most people, me included, didn't think that we would get a player back like DJ Moore on top of still staying top 10 of the draft. The Bears made great moves. And even when you look at last season's draft, before this past draft, right? Everybody thinking that the Bears are going to go wide receiver. They go Jaquan Brisker and they go Kyler Gordon at the top of that draft and don't go wide receiver in the later. Now, Velus Jones still has his own things he needs to work at. But when you look at just how Ryan Poles came in and, it really was methodical in the way that he moved once he came in and took this job, sending away a lot of the dead salary and bad contracts, and even a lot of the veterans, taking hardline negotiation stances and, trading Roquan Smith to get value back in a way, and then now rebuilding the linebacking core, all for making what I think is $2 million more than Roquan Smith's contract. At the end of the day, Ryan Poles has been very smart in the way that he's built out this team, and is going to continue his focus of being extremely bold and not hesitating when he thinks he's making the right move, but also not reckless, right? Taking calculated risks. The 1-year prove-it deals that he was known to give out that, almost all of them didn't pay off. But again, not attaching long-term salary, right? And while the wins have not come for the Chicago Bears yet, it is not. We still got tons of work that we need to do on that side of the football to get to winning football. But ultimately, things shook out the way that they needed to shake out, right? And I feel like what we have now in Ryan Poles, what we have in the front office, what we have in now Kevin Warren and the extension of the coaching staff, and them taking flyers and not being afraid to empower the young players early on into their career and let them develop, let them go through their bumps and bruises and all of that. Poles has a vision for this team. And yes, following the Kansas City blueprint, you can do a lot worse than that, right? But as Poles sits in a place to make major decisions and continue to making those for the Chicago Bears, the fact of the matter is we have somebody who's not afraid to make the bold decisions. He's not afraid to make the decisions that we may as fans initially look at and say, hey, what are we doing here? But that end up paying off for the Chicago Bears. And ultimately, yes, we need to eventually see it translate to wins on the football field. But when you look at the foundation that we have now laid, the number of young players that we have now, if those players hit and develop at the rate that we think they're going to, not all of them are going to turn into stars. Not all of them are going to even stick around long term. But the groundwork that Ryan Poles has laid here has been something we have not seen in Chicago Bear land for a while. And for the first time, it seems like we are on the uptick on both the offensive and defensive sides of the ball. And that is something that you can build around. That is something that you can lay a groundwork on. That is a foundation that you now have that you can continue to build upon year after year after year. And so hopefully we get to the promised land that I know all Bears fans want to see us get to. Ryan Poles has a vision, and a vision that not many teams in Chicago have, right? And I think that it's so different what we're seeing. Even though he did not draft Justin Fields, it's clear he is building around Justin Fields, right? He buys into that. He sees the potential in Justin Fields. And so even when we're talking about things like Roschon Johnson, right, getting him in, we talk about even the fact that we are now talking about Tyler Scott as somebody who could potentially eventually take over for Darnell Mooney. We'll see if that ends up happening, but you can see the vision there. And that is something that for so long, as a Bears fan, a lifelong Bears fan, I've said it before and I will say it every time I get the chance, all my 36 years on this beautiful planet we call Earth, I've been a Bears fan, period. And yeah, the last time the Bears won the Super Bowl was the year I was born, which goddamn. And we made it to the Super Bowl. We've gone on some playoff runs. But at the end of the day, it always felt like we had 1 foot in and 1 foot out. And still to this day, right, we need to see it come together, but the vision is different. And that vision, that ability to stick to it. And the thing is, too, while Ryan Poles does have a vision, what he's shown so far is that he's not hesitant to come up off that if it needs to. And so I am enjoying where we are right now as a Bears fandom. I'm enjoying right now the process, right? Yes, it sucks to be coming off a 3-14 season. It sucks to have a season again where, a lot of us Bears fans have absolute hope on where this team is going to go. But until we start seeing that come together, there's always going to be some doubt, both from the national media, from internally within Bears fans, and it's rightfully so, until the proof is in the pudding. But we have that thing that you can build around now, right? We have the quarterback that we hope is going to be the quarterback for a long, long time, that we're going to continue, that we're going to see break so many records for the Chicago Bears that we has just not had from a quarterback. We have a coaching staff now that is not afraid to empower their young players, and we have so many young players with promise that we can see eventually becoming starters or at least high-level depth pieces for the Chicago Bears team. We got work we need to do on the offensive line. We got work we need to do to become more of a passing threat team. We have that work that we need to do. But one thing that we can finally, I think, trust in is that Poles is going to continually change what needs to be on the field, and he's going to evaluate, change what needs to be changed, stick to what needs to be sticks to, empower who he needs to empower, motivate who he needs to motivate, and it starts with him and that coaching staff being in the synergy that they're in. Ryan Poles is something different for Chicago. Ryan Poles is something different for the Chicago Bears, and I think that along with that, Eberflus, Justin Fields, Kevin Warren, everything that we have now here in Chicagoland, it's going to be times are changing. Times are changing. And just remember the journey, right? That's the biggest thing, right? Losing sucks. Going through freaking adversity sometimes sucks. But how you come out on the other side is going to be what eventually tells the story. And we hope, at least, that the Chicago Bears are building and writing a story that all of the fans are going to end up being proud of. Now, does that end up in a Super Bowl? That remains to be seen. There are so many variables in that you can't really say that. There are great teams that don't reach the mountaintop of winning a Super Bowl. But I do think that for the first time, we're building something. And we're building something that I have faith in. We're building something that I think a lot of people have faith in as well. But we need to see it come along, right? And so that's what we end up seeing, man. That's just my message for today. Just really just sitting back, relaxing, getting ready for training camp, which should be extremely fun. Make sure you guys stay tuned in with us. Follow the show at Shy Bear Central. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, ChicagoBearCentral@gmail.com. Lastly, you will leave a text message and our voicemail. The number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bears related. And like I like to end every episode on, Chi-Town up, Bear down. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.